So I'm going to explain the science of the experiment right now, so that after you do this, you can have your own theories and then check in with me to hear what's going on. If you have not really thought about it and thought about your own theories yet for what was going on with the water experiment, then pause the video and take some time to reflect and then just come back when you want to hear about it. Okay, so this experiment, we had a big bowl of water and we were using the sun to heat it up. And what we noticed over the couple of days that we did this was that water droplets started forming on the inside of the saran wrap or the plastic wrap. It started forming there, and then next thing we knew, there was water in our little cup, which was otherwise empty. So this is not a coincidence. What's going on is that as water heats up in oceans, lakes, ponds, the snow outside, as the sun hits all that water and it gets hot, it does something called evaporating, where it kind of floats up into the air. And we don't feel it. It's not like we see snowflakes coming and rising up, but it evaporates into the air, and then the air kind of holds on to it and it goes way up into the sky. And we love that it does this, because that's why we don't have snow around all the time. But in Denver, we're so fortunate that it's so sunny that the snow melts really quickly, because the sun hits it and it's like, it just kind of goes away and it goes down and down and down. And then sometimes you don't even have to shovel because the snow is gone the next morning or something. So the water was evaporating. That's why we had it in such a sunny spot. We wanted that sun to be able to hit it and evaporate up the water. Typically with snow, and I'm pointing behind me because there is snow on the ground right now when I'm filming this. So typically with snow, it evaporates and it goes into the atmosphere and into the air. When we had that plastic wrap though, with such a tight seal, it didn't have anywhere to go. So it just kind of collected on the plastic wrap. And those were the droplets that we saw. By having that little cup weighing down the plastic wrap, all of the water droplets kind of started falling down the hill that we had created, or that like little dip. And then when they got really heavy, too heavy to stick to the plastic wrap, they dropped down into our tiny cup. This happens outside with the form of clouds. So when water evaporates up to the sky and it starts to collect, it finds each other and they start to collect, and eventually they make clouds. And then eventually those clouds get really heavy. It's a lot of water. And eventually those clouds need to burst. And what do you think that bursting looks like for us? It's rain. When the clouds get really heavy, it rains down, or maybe it snows if it's cold enough. So the snow or rain falls down, and then it lands in our puddles, in our lakes, in our oceans, and sometimes in our yards, where it collects, and then the whole cycle kind of repeats itself, and eventually the sun comes up again and it evaporates out the water and it goes up into the sky, and it just keeps going over and over again. And that is called the water cycle. Some of you have heard about this before, the water cycle. It's pretty neat to see, and I'll put some pictures of the water cycle on the Google Docs so that you can kind of see a picture of it as well. So the water fell back down into our bowl, and we all saw that happen. The crazy thing was that the water wasn't purple anymore, whatever color yours was. The water was clear. So this is the part that has to do with distilling water. When we distill water to make it safe to drink, we're separating out those impurities. And the impurities often have a different heating up temperature. They weigh different amounts than the water. So using the sun to heat them up separates the two. And so the clean water that's safe to drink goes to the top, and then it ends up coming back down into a little cup, and the dirty or imperfect water stays behind. You can do this experiment with other things as well. I saw something online where you did it with salt water, and it tastes really salty when you start it and it's in the big bowl, and then after it evaporates up and drips back down into the bowl. I'm curious what it tastes like then, if the salt comes with the water or if it stays behind. I don't have salt, so I did not do that experiment. I did it with food coloring. You could also try this with juice or sugar water or soda. I don't have those things, so I'm not able to do that. But if you have them, I would love to hear what happens. What comes into that little bowl when you have soda in the big bowl or you have salt water or juice? I'm very interested and curious to hear. Before I sign off, I just want to show you kind of this idea of the water heating up and then collecting at the top in one other spot. So we're gonna go and check this out. So I'm walking, and as we've been talking, I have been boiling water, just like what you would do for pasta. So this is my heat source. I don't know if you can see my finger. That's my heat source, the flame, where we had the sun in our experiment. And then instead of saran wrap, I have this, ooh, that's really hot, this lid. And you can see the water droplets coming up, and underneath there, I would open it, but it's too hot for me to touch. It is boiling water. So typically when you boil water, you have a lid on it to help it boil faster, and then you take the lid off to put your pasta in. And I'm curious how you guys think that this relates to our experiment, and if you could do something similar with this. All right, thanks. See you next time.